ओके, अमृतेश इज हियर, नाइस। चलो शुरू करें।
गुड आफ्टरनून सर।
गुड आफ्टरनून। कहाँ चलेगा सब?
क्लास चल रही है लगता है बीटेक वाले।
ओके, जयंत सर की, ओके ओके, राइट। जयंत से लंबी क्लास ले रहे हैं लगता है। आ गया ये, ओनली 3। ठीक है, माइक नहीं सही कराया तुमने। आवाज नहीं आ रही। हो गई अटेंडेंस जयंत सर के यहाँ? चल रही है अभी?
हाँ सर, खत्म हो गया।
खत्म हो गई। वेरी गुड। आओ भाई सब लोग फिर शुरू करें। बढ़िया बढ़िया, चलो जब तक लोग आते हैं। Flag software is based on Helium or FEM. Flag software is based on I think FEM. LEM we have very less softwares. Oh, sorry. FLAC is actually based on FDM, finite difference method. It's not finite element method. A little bit different. Algorithms अलग हैं और फाइनाइट डिफरेंस में प्रोसेस करने का तरीका थोड़ा अलग है फ्रॉम फाइनाइट एलिमेंट. उसमें भी करते हैं डिस्क्रिटाइजेशन टाइप्स ही हैं बट उसके फंडामेंटल्स अलग हैं. You can read about that. It's interesting. There are many methods like finite difference method is one. Discrete element method is one. Small thing into small balls. और बॉल की शेप, बॉल की साइज, राइट, और उनके इंटर बॉल इंटरेक्शन जैसे जैसे कोई अट्रैक्टिव फोर्स है बिटवीन सराउंडिंग बॉल्स तो उसे कोहेजन के फॉर्म में दिखाया जाता है. एंड इन दैट वे ये लोग काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें सिमुलेट करने की कोशिश करते हैं. वेरी यूजफुल इन केसेस जहाँ पे क्रैक प्रोपगेशन देखना चाहते हैं लोग, because anyways all elements are separated already, so whatever is holding them together is just forces. लेकिन कई जगह practically it's very strange. In slope stability, finite this discrete element method is fun to do but not accurate, not that much accurate. But finite difference method is one जिसमें आपका सिमिलर टू फाइनाइट एलिमेंट बट उसकी बेसिस फंक्शंस and it's more on the limited to more limited to what kind of geometries that can be analyzed in finite difference method. तो फ्लैक उसको यूज करता है. और एक होता है बाउंड्री एलिमेंट मेथड. बाउंड्री एलिमेंट मेथड और बेसिक है, मतलब उसमें द ओनली एनालिसिस इज डन ऑन द बाउंड्रीज. बहुत ही सिंपल ज्योमेट्रीज के लिए बहुत ही अच्छा एनालिसिस है वो बाउंड्री एलिमेंट. बट वो भी हम लोगों के लिए जैसे ही कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी बढ़ती है देन इट बिकम्स नॉट यूजफुल. तो ऐसे हैं बहुत सारे मेथड. एक फाइनाइट वॉल्यूम मेथड है दैट इज जनरली यूज्ड इन दिस फ्लूइड फ्लो. तो फ्लूइड फ्लो में वो कंजर्वेशन ऑफ वॉल्यूम ये के प्रिंसिपल पे काम करता है कि द अमाउंट ऑफ वॉल्यूम दैट कम्स इन फाइनाइट सेक्शन गोज आउट ऑफ द फाइनाइट सेक्शन ऑल्सो. सो टोटल अमाउंट ऑफ वॉल्यूम इन अ फाइनाइट सेक्शन और अ फाइनाइट वॉल्यूम रिमेन सेम. तो उस तरीके से वो कंप्यूटेशनल फ्लूइड डायनामिक्स में फाइनाइट वॉल्यूम मेथड भी कई जगह यूज़ होता है. हम लोग जो करेंगे वो फाइनाइट एलिमेंट बेसिस पे करेंगे, तो उसका कंसेप्ट अलग है. तो फाइनाइट वॉल्यूम का भी सॉफ्टवेयर मैं कौन सा यूज़ किया था भूल गया. देयर वर सम ओल्ड सॉफ्टवेयर्स व्हाट आई यूज्ड फॉर फाइनाइट वॉल्यूम मेथड. है मेथड्स एक्सप्लोर करो. इट्स फन टू एक्सप्लोर. सो मेनी मेथड्स आर देयर ऑफ एनालिसिस. इसमें क्या है, किसमें क्या पॉजिटिव से क्या नेगेटिव से. देखो फ्लैक में वी डू फाइनाइट डिफरेंस, सो थोड़ा सा उसमें चैलेंजेस रहते हैं बट बेसिक काम हो जाता है. ठीक है, ओके. कितने लोग आ गए? बढ़िया. चलो एक काम करते हैं बिफोर वी स्टार्ट, या फिर लेट्स डू दैट, वो काम लेटर ऑन करेंगे. ठीक है. Welcome guys, welcome everyone. Today what we will be doing is we'll be continuing with the things that we were doing last time. So last Rockslope technology class, what we did was we studied about the kinematic analysis, right? What were the various ways in which we can basically analyze what kind of failure is probable in this case, with the chances of getting the probability of failure based on based on the orientation of joint and the orientation of slope phase. ये सब all this we saw. And with the kinematic analysis, we are also seeing something called failure envelopes, right? We were seeing how for different types of failures, like a simple planar failure, wedge failure, toppling failure, and so on, there are different zones, critical zones in our stereographic projections. If the pole of the joint sets fall in that zone, it becomes it becomes a possibility that it can fail in that direction, right? We were seeing those, and we were also seeing the different criterias on which these zones were made. So we were seeing that for planar failure, the slope angle should always be more than the joint failure angle, right? And for toppling, we were seeing that apart from the slope angle, it should also be greater than the friction, intersurfacial friction, interlayer friction, so that the toppling can happen, right? So many conditions we were seeing. On the basis of these conditions, those failure envelopes were made in the stereographic projection. Today we will be taking it a little bit further with some examples. Yeah, last time we tried to, but actually I also got a little bit sidetracked on that. There is another thing that we have to see is how the planes, how the friction angles are projected. And that's what was happening in the last example. So we'll take that example and analyze how things are done that way. So we'll take some kinematic analysis exercise, and today we will also be doing, if time permits, there is a software called Rock Science DIPS. So like the software we are using for finite element and limit equilibrium, right? Same company, it has made software for just this sort of stereographic analysis. So we'll be very quickly going through that. That's not very important for our work because most probably we won't be involved in plotting these things from a geological side point of view. But anyways, we will be seeing how things are done, and how a basic kinematic analysis can be done on that software, and how easy it becomes to see that, right? So let's start that. So last time we saw this kind of failure envelopes that were developed, and we saw that any point which is between this zone or this circle, that is called a frictional cone, right? So anything inside this friction cone won't fail in planar or wedge failure sort of scenarios, because the friction should overcome basically the friction. Now, what we are talking about, do remember that we are not talking about that these planes should not lie beneath in this circle. We are talking about the poles of these planes. So when we talk about kinematic analysis, we are mostly talking about these poles, unless specifically we are saying we are talking about the planes in that case. So planes, if we talk about the planes, mostly they will be drawn in this way. And if that is the case, then we have different projections as well. So that was the confusion that was happening last time also. So that we'll cover up today. So on the poles basis, so this is the friction is calculated from the inside, and we have these planar failure envelope, we have the wedge failure envelope, and we have toppling failure envelope, right? So we saw how the variations in the strike or the dip angle also is to be taken care of. We also saw that the wedge failure can happen in three ways. Along both of these planes, that means along the intersection line if it falls somewhere here, right? It can happen along one plane or the other plane based on the orientation of that plane. So that also is a possibility, right? So planar failure has the wedge failure has, that's why a higher range. But for both of these, the condition is that the inclination of or the dip of these planes should always be less than the dip of the face. If that is not there, then failure won't happen, right? And for toppling failure, we were seeing that it has to basically overcome some remaining in this part, which is basically representing a friction. Sorry, not this, this part. So this is basically representing a frictional friction angle between the slices or the topple slices. So once it overcomes the angle overcomes the slope as well as the friction angle, then and only then it can basically have a toppling failure, right? So we saw this kind of example we saw last time, and what we were predicting was whether the failure can happen. Actually, my mistake was that this kind of projection is a different kind of projection that is specifically done for wedge kind of failure. So in previous example or the previous one, these are all based on uh, poles, right? Whenever we want to find out which type of failure will happen, we have to plot the poles of those planes, and then find out what is the chance of failure in that kind of scenario, right? In this case, so what we are doing is we are talking about the intersection point of the planes. So when this comes up, this basically is representing not a pole of a plane, but an intersection point of a plane. Now that also can be converted into simple direction of the poles, but actually this whole thing, this friction angle as well as this envelope, can be transformed into a polar projection in this form. So when we do this kind of polar projection, what happens is we start counting for the friction angle from the equatorial end. So if you understand, this is the polar projection. We are looking at it on the bottom. So this actual full circle is the equator. So when we do that, we start counting for friction from the edge from here. So if suppose this was 25, we will be counting from 10, 0, 10, 20, and somewhere here is 25. While for the equatorial projection, it would have been from inside, right? So do remember that for specifically for wedge failure, why we are doing this, also understand that for wedge failure, we have to find where the intersection point of these two planes lie, right? Now, if that is the case, we could have basically projected it on the opposite end by finding the poles of these two and finding the pole of the intersection point here. But what is happening is because that will be a little bit tricky for normal analysis, we do a polar projection where the friction angle is calculated from the backside on the from the equatorial side, and the intersection point of these planes are basically judged between the between this sort of envelope. Now this envelope for wedge failure in polar projection is the critical envelope of failure, and this is bounded by, this is the face, right? You can see here it is a face, and this one is the friction circle or the friction cone. Okay, so any area that is bounded by this part will come under wedge failure. Now, this is actually incomplete. The actual cover is something on this line also. So if we just take a point here and extend these areas, sorry. So this area and this area, will be basically representing the second kind or the third kind of wedge failure. So we discussed, right, that in the previous one that there are like 2 or 3 ways in which wedge can happen. This is the place where it slides on both sides along the intersection line. This is the point where it slides from one plane, and this is the side where it can slide from the other plane, right? Based on what kind of plane orientation is there. Similarly, this is basically a polar projection for the same, but the shaded zone, basically the gray shaded zone, this indicates the first condition where wedge failure happens along both the planes, that is along the intersection line. This, if the intersection point lies here or lies here, that will be depending. That will be giving an idea of what kind of sliding failure is probable that time. But that slide will be along any one of the planes, depend on what kind of orientation is there of that plane. Is that clear? That's why we were actually uh, not able to solve that last problem. So we were having some difficulty in understanding that. This is a different kind of basically way to ease our kinematic analysis for wedge failure. This is very specific for wedge failure. For all other kinds of failure, like planar failure or toppling failure, we will go for the equatorial projection. This is very specific for wedge failure, and specifically when we are talking about the intersection point, we go for the this polar projection of friction circle. Any doubt? Any questions till now? No. Okay. So now we understand what was there. So let's move to some problems that we couldn't do last time. So this was one of the problem that we started with. So we saw that these guys, this analysis is basically done in Himalayan slopes. There is a temple. I think I explained it last time. So there are some joint sets, and the face of the slope is around this orientation. And what they did was basically they had to give a full support system, design a full support system there. So they started with the orientation mapping, and this is one of the places they could one of the road spaces they actually did the analysis on. So they identified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 joints. This is the slope face, and they also identified the friction angle. Now, do understand when this kind of friction angle is defined, generally it is polar projection, and especially in terms of wedge failure analysis, because this kind of shaded portion is actually generated from few of the software, and anything that is enclosed within the friction circle and the slope face will be having a chance of failure here. So any intersection point, I mean. So with respect to that, there are so many intersection points for this, like intersection point is here one, right? Intersection is another, here is another intersection point. Another intersection point is here. One is here, right? One is here. But the critical ones are basically falling here. So the two wedges that can be having a chance of failure basically is in these 2 points, right? So accordingly, they have basically calculated wedges angle and the wedge plunge and trend. So that is written here. And how they did that, that was basically how we saw the intersection, how we find out the line angle and the line dip, right? Do you remember that exercise when we start joining the center to the intersection point and see the direction, and then to find out the angle, we basically bring it to a great circle and find the dip of it. So based on that, W1 and W2, the wedges and their plunges and the trends can be found out, right? So in this case, we are seeing what? That a failure of two kinds of wedges are there. So, but there can be other failures as well. So for that, what I did was I tried to basically do this analysis in DIP software, which we'll be having a look today, and plotted these planes and turned them into poles. So if you see this point and all these points are basically representing poles. Okay, poles of the all the joints that are there. This is our slope face, right? And this is the plane of that, and this point, because you can see from the failure envelope also, this point basically represents the pole of that uh, uh, face, right? Now, to understand what we are doing here, this envelope basically is a planar failure envelope. How we are doing that? This circle we saw, this was the, in terms of when we talk about poles, this was the circle that was representing a complete failure of the wedges as well as that, right? So this basically condition is that any angle that is less than the angle of the slope, right? So this was the critical part, and this zone was basically due to the strike or the dip angle variation, right? So plus 20 and minus 20 degrees. And that's why this shaded portion was decided to be the envelope of planar failure, right? Remember? So in this case, if we see, there is actually no pole that falls inside this zone, right? Even the pole of this also lies outside this this circle, and that basically means it won't be failing in a sliding fashion, right? And similar kind of analysis I also performed for other failures. So took it and saw the intersection points. Now intersection points basically were decided based on whatever these planes were there. So on the basis of these planes, all the intersection points were plotted in that are shown here in blue, right? And the poles of the original planes are here. So intersection point we can't see in this circle directly, but their projections can be seen. So what I did was basically I also replicated what they tried to do, and found that in a polar projection, this kind of envelope they are making, what they are doing here is what I have done here. So this is the friction circle, and this is our face. And if you see, these are the intersection points, if the critical intersection points that they have decided in form of the two wedges, right? These all intersection points are basically intersection points of face with other angles, so other joints. So this one, this one, and this one are plotted here. So basically two were there. So two are plotted here, and those basically were the main wedges that are susceptible to failure. When we do this kind of analysis, we also find out what is the probability that this kind, what is the percentage chance that this kind of failure can happen. So how we do that is we basically calculate all the number of discontinuities that are there and all the number of intersection points that are there. And we take the percentage of those intersection points that are falling in the critical zone. So this one is not like a probabilistic analysis or anything, but they just calculate the percentage of points that are falling in the critical limit. So if large percentage of points are falling in this critical zone, basically they say that chances are more. Again, this is a little bit of a subjective idea of finding out how stable a slope, because you can't have an objective view of this. So in that sense, we have to go for the regular methods that we are already discussing. But subjectively, just to get an idea, we can actually get some like suppose among all the like 50 or 60 intersection points that we saw in the previous one, right? So many blue dots. Only two of those are basically falling for the wedge failure. So if there are 60 to 2 upon 60 into 100, that's the percentage or chance of the failure that can happen in wedge failure in that case. So an indication, but again, not very certain. So this was for wedge failure. So that's why all these charts that we were seeing that time were basically a different projection. So that basically clarifies that. We also did for possible toppling failure. Toppling failure, we saw how if this is the phase, we basically drew the friction angle between between the slices. We gave the friction part, and based on that, basically it calculated the zone of toppling. So based on the zone of toppling, if we see basically no pole is exactly falling here. So there is a chance, but not exactly. So that's why even the toppling is not there in this case. So this kind of analysis we can do even by seeing that. The focus of this kind of plot is always for wedge failure. And focus for this kind of where poles are given are for planar and failure, planar and toppling and all. So these things we can do easily. Now, what I want to show you guys is how we do this exercise. Because we don't want to focus on exactly how to convert this by stereo nuts and plot the poles and do the manual exercise, right? Not our work, but at least we should have an understanding, so we are getting that. So we can use a good software that is available to basically find out how things are done here. So in this case, like the second example that they gave was that they had 5 joints were there, and same friction angles and similar slope. But what they found were there were 2 wedges and 1 toppling scenario. So what I want to do now is basically try to actually analyze this part and how they found out. Right. Let me introduce you this software. This is called, just a sec. Okay. Can you see this one? Yeah. So this is called DIPS software. That is basically software from Rock Science only. What it is designed for basically stereographic projections and all. So just let me start and show you what all it can do. Then we'll see some more examples and one of the exercise that it also has. So we'll do that. So why we are doing this is just to plot these dips and dip directions. So let me just change it here to see what are the dips and dip directions. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 joints. So we'll fill those values up. Do remember that what we are filling is what kind of data is given. So here we are asked that dip and dip direction. Here also it is given dip and dip direction. It may be that our data is in form of a strike and dip, right? A strike and dip angle. It can be like lines, so in terms of trend and plunge and so on. So do remember that. So right now we have data that is same as we want. So, sorry. So we'll do that. Let's just quickly fill it up. And so the second one is 52 to 26, 80 and 60, 70 and 160, and 30 and 10. It's simple software. We can either remove these or let it be. I think that's okay. And just save this file to start our work. Let me save this with dips try 5, some of the exercise I was doing before. And just to basically plot all this, we just have to click one contour preset button, and all the contours will be developed on the basis of the data we have. Now, what this data basically shows us, because we have just single plots, it has basically concentrated the whole contour in that region. That is not our priority, so let's remove that. What we are interested in are the planes, right? So these are the planes. If we want to see how it compares with what we were doing. Okay, and if we see there, so all the joints are basically plotted in the direction we have given, and what we are missing is this face, right? Because we didn't plot the face, we just plotted the joints. So let's plot the face also. Okay, some problem with the size. Hold on. Let me reset the settings in this screen and bring it back. Right. So this is all the joints that we saw in this example. We also have to plot a plane. So just to add another plane, we basically click this option for add a user plane, similar to the one we are doing. We were doing in that online app that was there for plotting. We just click, and it gives us more options of what to do. Just to see what the details were, we can add 75 and 276, but do remember that what it is asking. So let's label it as face. And orientation, it is giving in terms of trend and plunge. We don't want that. We want in dip and dip direction. So all we can have different options. So strike and dip in form of right or left strike, and dip and dip direction. So we can have dip and dip direction, and our face is basically 75 and 267, right? So that is okay. Okay, chalega. So we now see a face. Our face is there, right? And the fun thing is that all the analysis that we were doing, like the intersection points, the poles, everything actually can be directly interpolated by this software. So if we want to see what are the poles, so we can basically plot the poles for this. And if we remove this planes, these are the poles of these planes that were there, right? Why this is important? Because now what we are going to do is based on poles. So we go for the analysis part and go for the kinematic analysis. Now, kinematic analysis, here we have to define what kind of analysis we want to do, what kind of failure mode we want to see. So if the type of failure we want to give it, the same failure envelope it will basically make for us. So let's go for the planar sliding, and because we go for poles, right? So we'll take care of that. And the slope which we want to take care of is the dip slope of the face. So that was what was that, 75, right? Yeah, the 75 and 267. So oh. Yeah, the 75 we can write here. Dip direction is 267, and the friction angle was given as 25 degrees, right? So if you see on the sidelines, what is happening is it is basically making a the frictional the failure envelope. The friction cone is being made, right? The circle for the slope is being made, the envelope, and these lines. So these lines are basically dictated by the literal limits. We have plus minus 20, so that's okay. If we want, we can decrease or increase whatever we want. Oh, sorry. Input should be okay. What? Okay, so you can see how it is increasing. Let's keep it back at 20 because that's what we were taking care of. And let's click OK. So now that is what the kind of failure error for this kind of situation will be. If we want to see what kind of grids are there, planes are there, we can see here also. And that's how basically the points that are there, these are the poles for these planes. And if we see again that no pole is basically inside this face, inside this envelope. So it also calculates, the kinetic also calculates the percentage. So out of the 5 poles that are there, there is no critical zoned phase or no critical zoned pole for that plane. And so the failure percentage basically in planar slide is given as 0%, right? Now, easy thing is now we can change it for all other types. Like on the side, we can basically do it for we can do it for it is very short. Why? We can do it for wedge failure. So in wedge failure, you see how, in wedge failure, you see how it transforms directly from the polar, from the equatorial to the polar coordinate system, and it has basically increased or replotted the friction cone. And the failure zone is given this part. Now what it is showing right now is these dots are basically poles, but what we want to see are the intersection points. So we can plot the intersection points also. And yeah, these are already plotted here. And if we want to see how these intersection points are made, so we can actually see that. So this is the point of intersection that is critical. Otherwise, most of the other points, intersection points, are basically falling out, right? So in this, for condition of wedge failure, we have this one. If we want to basically measure what kind of trend or plunge it is, we can draw an arrow, and basically it will give us the trend and plunge of this. So now we can easily get what kind of failure it's happening and so on, right? And in terms of details, if we zoom in here, there are two wedges that are there. Oh, this one is also just falling inside. Okay, my mistake. So this wedge also is there, and so out of the 10 intersection points that are there, 2 of them are falling inside this. So a 20% chance of failure in the wedge zone. Even the same result, I think they have. So they have 2 wedges, right? And the details, the plunge and the trend is given here, right? Especially what we want to see now is that toppling kind of failure, how they do that. So in toppling, there is something called a flexural toppling that they are basically interested in. And in that case, basically, what we also have to do is, if I can, let me minimize this. Yeah, this is better. So in the side, because this is lateral limits are 20, we have to basically change it to 10. So let's reduce those. And yeah, sorry. And we again change these intersection points to line the poles, because now we are not interested in the intersection points, we are interested in the poles, because that's where the failure can be judged in terms of probability in terms of toppling. So if we see this one pole is basically falling in the critical zone for toppling as well. So do remember, we have given a few things in the kinematic analysis for the toppling failure as well. Just let me put the things back. Yeah. So in this, we have also given friction angle between the interfacial interfacial these slices in toppling as 25 degrees. We can actually increase or decrease this based on whatever data is available with us. But since they have given just 25, we basically just are replicating that. And according to that, also this circle will shift. So if say the interfacial was more than like 35 degrees, so basically this pole will fall short, and then the probability of failure will be basically 0 in toppling failure. However, since they have done it at 25 degrees, so let's put it back, and if you see, one of the toppling is detected in this case, right? This kind of analysis is easy, it's not time consuming, and if these kind of softwares are there, then it's much more quicker. Otherwise also, while if we manually plot also, these kind of analysis don't take much time. The thing to remember for us is we actually don't have to do this in fields when we go for any analysis, when we go for any field visits and all. But we have to know which kind of data will be presented to us. So similar kind of data can be presented to us. Maybe just only the contour maps are presented to us, so no kinematic analysis is done. So we may have to basically ask them to either plot the kinematic these failure envelopes, or we can do it manually for ourselves, and in that way we can basically find out which are the chances of failure, right? So this was one example. Similarly, we can do for the others as well. So they have also given a toppling of 4780. So basically what we found that one of the plane was failing. So one of the plane is that the J1 plane, and that the pole of that only was falling into the toppling zone. So that is the 4780 plane. Okay, so that's what this example suggests. Uh, how much time we have? 10 minutes. Another example is there. So if you, I don't know how you will get this software, but it is available for in NIT. But when you come, maybe you can give it a try. And what also we I want to show you guys is that in general field, what kind of data we get is not just these 5 or 6 points. We get a series of data. So for example, I have 2 data sets like this. So this data set is coming from one of the open pit mines. And what they were doing is they were basically taking uh, this kind of joint mapping they were doing. And they have like how much? 304 data sets, 303 data sets. They have more than what we just entered, right? They had dip and dip direction is are the one things that are there, but some things more are there. So there are like spacing, traverse, length, and so on. Uh, these characteristics basically are geological characteristics, like spacing is there, length is there. How this helps, basically when we log these all out, there are certain kind of analysis that can be done further in this software that will basically take care of the spacing and the persistence. So as we were discussing once, the persistence also plays an important role in basically calculation of if the slope will be stable or not, right? Spacing also, we were seeing those examples, and also the roughness, right? And roughness we take care in form of the friction angle, and basically what these few more parameters can be there here as well. Water flow, water condition can be there and all, but I think that this software doesn't allow that. But why these parameters have been given is there are some features in DIPS software that it can give a weighted idea of how things are done, how the stability can be calculated. So for those which are not persistent, those planes which are not persistent, or the spacing is not according to how the failure will be facilitated, so that are basically restricted. This rough, very rough, smooth and all polished and all, this is manual inputs, which basically help in understanding what kind of friction will be there ultimately, right? And this can be done. So I think, this all data already uh, done loaded for you. So I can actually show you how it looks because time is less. Yeah. So So when you plot this, it looks something like this. So now you can see actually what things are shown here, and when actual analysis is seen, how things appear. Now these, if we even remove the poles, basically these contours are on the basis of poles. So contours can be drawn on the basis of many things, but these contours are saturated, will give an idea of the polar saturation, right? And based on these, basically we can find out the mean of these, what are the mean sets. So we can find all the sets as well, like we can find uh, all the planes that are there and how they are interacting. But major, we can see that there is one set of planes that are running along this, another set that is here, and the third set that is there. So there is a way to basically find out what are the mean sets. And I don't think that analysis is done here, but there is some way to do that as well, but let's not go into that right now. It will take some time. But yeah, so based on this, these kind of contours, we can actually plot these means. We can actually plot which are the intersection points. So in place of poles, we can actually see the contours based on intersection points as well. So these are the intersection contours. If we remove the poles and we see the intersections, so these are all the intersections that are there, all set planes or the planes or intersection. And because it will be difficult to see, the plotting is based on the contour plotting is based on these intersection planes. So when we do a wedge kind of analysis in this, we can actually see that. You don't have any class later on, right? Or is there any class? What I was thinking was if we can do a kinematic analysis very quickly in this set to see how things are done. Okay, let's rush a little bit. So these are the poles, these are there. And if we do a kinematic analysis, very simple, right? But we have to basically define a plane for this. So let's define a plane which is oriented at 90 degrees and dipping at 70 degrees. So yeah, and the friction angle is 30, lateral limits are 20. That's okay. Let's keep it that way and click OK. And what we see here are the chances in the poles that are falling in this envelope. So this, even though this contour is very highly concentrated and it can have these kind of planar failures, the limit of the slope basically basically prevents most of these poles to fail. So even if we want to see the concentration or the percentage, we can actually see here. So it is almost 4.95 or something. Let me zoom. I don't know why it is not happening now. Anyways, so this is for planar, and it has hung. Oh, yeah. एक मिनट मैं दूसरी स्क्रीन में ले जाता हूँ. Let me check what is going on. Yeah, it has basically hung. So the concept is the same. I mean, if we go for the other kind of analysis, right now it's not working somehow. But if we go for the other kind of analysis, we can see how much percentage of these kind of failures will be there. And that way we can basically analyze a certain practical field situation, right? So let's stop now. Anyways, I don't know why this program stopped responding. Oh. So I think the power to aa rahi hai. Why this is up? Okay. Anyways, so that was it for today. Tomorrow onwards, yes, tomorrow onwards we will continue this geological part. We are finished with this stereographic projections, kinematic analysis, and And tomorrow, what we'll do is we'll see other types of geological interactions with with the slope, how these are actually judged in field, what are some of the tests that are there, and then we'll be moving on to the material properties of the rocks, like how the cohesion and friction are calculated very quickly, because most of the things that these things might have been already covered in your rock mechanics class, but still we will just quickly skim through. I don't think you have been uh, differentiated between rock mechanics and soil mechanics. So we'll do a small bit on that how things are different and where there is a line. Most of the things are basically covered in rock mechanics, but soil mechanics have few tests that are not relevant for rocks. So we'll see that. And yeah, let's see. Next week we'll cover that. Okay. Any questions? Please feel free to ask. That's the lecture is that much from my side. कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं होता तुम लोग ऐसा कैसे सब समझ में आ जाता है अच्छी बात है चलो थैंक यू गाइस थैंक यू सो मच फॉर कमिंग टुडे टेक केयर कल मिलते हैं
So you asked